بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl, we are able to resume reading and discussing the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As I mentioned in the last class of 2022, when we hear these ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's not my bayan that matters. What matters is that we're reading the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And there's a famous book that's been published in the subcontinent many times. It's been translated to English as well, called Ma'arif al-Hadith by Maulana Mansoor al-Nu'mani rahmatullahi alayhi. So at the beginning of most of the chapters, he writes a note. And in that note, what it says is that you'll be reading the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So imagine that you're sitting in the majlis of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're sitting in the gathering of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and you're hearing him speak to you. Because his words is guidance for the ummah, and we're part of his ummah as well. Right? So alhamdulillah, that's where the effect is. Because, sometimes we think that a great talk or explanation is what matters. But what really matters is the heart of a person being ready to receive the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was reading, there is a great scholar, the recent past, named Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, rahmatullahi alayhi. So in Tazkiratul Rashid, his biography, they write something about it. They said that he mentioned there was somebody who was giving like a very passionate talk. And in this talk, everybody was, he's such a great speaker. So he made a comment. He said that it doesn't matter, what type of talk a person could give a talk with all types of words. But if one true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the name of Allah with conviction, it's enough to put an effect on everybody there. He just mentioned this in passing. Then they asked him to give a talk. And he gave a very simple talk. What he did was, there was a book in front of him. It was a fiqh book. It was about the rules of tahara. He began speaking about tahara. And in the middle of the talk, randomly, he said, Allah. So he said, Allah. And he kept with his talk. When he said this, Allah, people started crying. People said, we don't know what happened. The whole masjid started to cry. Why? Because the hearts were ready and the effect of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that goes back. It's not, khas with this person. We've all heard the name of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, rahmatullahi alayhi. When his son came back from studying, his son was also, very passionate. He was so he gave this very passionate talk about, about the dunya and about how bad the dunya is. So then what happened? The murids and people that were there, they just listened. They said, okay. So he went and he talked to his father. He said, I gave this talk and nobody was affected. So his father said, okay, watch something. So then Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, he went and he gave a talk. And in this talk, all he said is that there was a man and he had a cat. He loved this cat and the cat died. Everybody there started to cry. His son said, I don't understand. He said, it's not about the words you say. It's about the heart from which these words are coming, right? There's a saying in Arabic too, that it's speaking my mind. We study it in Nafhatul Arab. What is it? As-sa'idu, as-sayf bis-sa'id, la-sa'idu bis-sayf. Right? That it's not the sword. It's the arm that has the sword, that has the effect. Right? So I don't know why this was in my mind. So I just thought that we'll mention it because it's a big blessing. That we're reading these words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. One more story comes to mind. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself one time, they had gone for a battle. And they were returning from the battle. So what Rasulullah ﷺ did, he wanted some time alone. The Sahaba, they recognized it. Everybody wants time alone. Be the Nabi of Allah, he wants some time alone. So what happened was the Sahaba, they let Nabi ﷺ be, and he was taking a nap. He was sitting there, he was taking a nap. One mushrik, he came behind Rasulullah ﷺ, and he saw that he's there. He said, this is my opportunity. So Nabi ﷺ was sleeping, his sword was right there. This man grabbed the sword of Rasulullah ﷺ. He said, I have the sword, I can do whatever I want. Let me have some fun with this too. So he woke up Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wanted to taunt him. He said, hey Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he looked. This hadith you'll find, I believe it's in Bukhari Sharif. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he opened his eyes and said, who's going to save you now? He had the sword dangling over Rasulullah. All Rasulullah said is Allah. But he said it with such force that the man got scared and he dropped the sword. Rasulullah says, he took the sword. He said, who's going to save you now? This man, he wasn't Muslim. So he said, your mercy. He's a non-Muslim, but he recognized Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's mercy. And he said, your mercy. Rasulullah said, go, you're free. So khair, anyway, that's just some things. Alhamdulillah, we're blessed that we're speaking about the ahadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Where did we leave off? We finished with chapter. Who remembers? Nobody remembers. Chapter of taqwa, right? So we finished with the chapter of taqwa. And when a person has this quality of taqwa, when it's instilled in their life, what is the result? The result is the next chapter. Babun fil yaqeen wa tawkeel. Right? The chapter of yaqeen and tawkeel or tawakkul. So now these are two words that are, similar, but they're not the same. One thing is yaqeen. Yaqeen means a firm conviction. Okay? Firm conviction. Tawakkul means trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason that they're brought together is because they're like lazim malzoom. These two things, they're built on one another. The more yaqeen and conviction one has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more they're convinced that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help them because His promises are true. Therefore, they have tawakkul. That's why these two things are brought together. Now, as far as yaqeen goes, there's three types of yaqeen. Do you know that? What are they? They're all mentioned in Surah Takasur. What are they? Just recite the surah. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترون عين اليقين ثم لتسألون يومئذ عن النعيم. So there's one more that comes in Surah Haqqa, Haqqul Yaqeen. So there are things that we should just understand. Some ilmi things here too. Alright, number one. Okay, there's ilmul yaqeen. Ilmul yaqeen means to have knowledge of something and not have any doubt in it, but it remains as knowledge. You haven't seen it. For example, we all know that there's a place called Makkah, right? And we know that the Kaaba is there. Does anybody have a doubt about it? Who here has not been for Hajj or Umrah? People? Anyone? Okay, you haven't been for Hajj or Umrah. Do you have any doubt that there's a Kaaba, there's Makkah? No. This is called ilmul yaqeen. Ilmul yaqeen. Now, who here has been for Hajj and Umrah? MashaAllah, you've been. Other people have been as well. So now when you go there and you see it with your eyes, it's called Aynul Yaqeen. Aynul Yaqeen. Okay? So you see the Kaaba from afar. That's Aynul Yaqeen. But then when a person experiences something, that's called Haqqul Yaqeen. Meaning that, okay, let's say you've heard about the Kaaba, right? Then you see a picture of it. Now you have Aynul Yaqeen. Then you go there and you perform Hajj. That's Haqqul Yaqeen. You see the effect that the Kaaba has on you, right? Another simple example is fire. We all know that fire, it burns. Okay, we know theoretically it burns. Then you see somebody, unfortunately, bichara, that person gets burned as well. Now you have Aynul Yaqeen. You've seen it with your eyes. Then unfortunately, Allah protect, you get burned. Now you have Haqqul Yaqeen. Right? So there's different levels of Yaqeen as well. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, though they had ilmul yaqeen, it was as if they had haqqul yaqeen. Like Ali radiallahu ta'ala, he said, it doesn't matter if I saw Jannah or Jahannam in front of me, it wouldn't make my belief in these things increase any. Right? So this is what yaqeen is. Alright? Then there's tawakkul. Tawakkul is trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is something that's delicate as well. So I said all of these things about the hadith. We probably won't get to the hadith today because we need to understand what is tawakkul. Tawakkul, we say trust on Allah. Does this mean leave everything and just quit your job, just sit and make dua and hope that people will take care of you, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send food for you from the sky? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, send money to you. It could happen. It happens to people. But this isn't tawakkul. Right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this world such that it's all based on asbab, cause and effect. Right? So like for example, you're hungry, you have to eat. When you eat, then you'll feel satiated. Right? This is what cause and effect is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has built the world on this. To the extent, somebody, they asked, one of my friends, they're a scholar, they asked them, why why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create angels if He can do everything Himself, right? So the answer, I mean, there's many answers to that. One good answer is that, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants to show us that you always use means. So even to carry out the duties here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is modeling that behavior for us. He's showing us by having angels carry out the task of this world by His command, right? Similarly, we see this everywhere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, with Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, He said that here's a tree, but shake it. وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ You need to shake the tree. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala couldn't give her dates. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, you need to do a little bit, shake the tree, there you go, the dates will be there for you. When it came to the conquest of Makkah, there was that Sahabi, Hatib bin Abi Balta radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. What he did, he made a mistake and he sent a letter to the people of Makkah with a woman saying that the Muslims are coming. It's a long story behind why he did that. But Jibreel alayhi salam came and told Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that this is what happened, and there's a woman going with that letter to Makkah, and you'll find her at this place. Jibreel alayhi salam came and told him. Why did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam have to do anything? He could have just called Hatib and said, this is it, why did you do this? No. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he took the means. He sent Ali and Zubair radiyallahu anhu to go and get the lady. The lady said, I don't know about any letter. She is hiding in her hair. Ali radiyallahu anhu said that, look, we have yaqeen in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So if you don't give us the letter, we'll strip you down and search you. She said, no, you don't need to do all that. He said, just turn around. Because even though she was a non-Muslim, she had her hair covered. So turn around, she took it out of her hair, she gave this letter. Now they came back to Medina Sharif. They gave it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rasulullah called Hatib and questioned him, why you do this? Why? Because cause, effect, process in this world. But a person cannot have full conviction and trust on these means. You have to adopt them while knowing that it's Allah that puts the effect in these means, right? Because at times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can cause the desired effect not to happen. Like Ibrahim alayhi salam, fire, we know it burns. If you want heat, you'll light a fire, or you used to light a fire, right? But with Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's thrown in a fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuni barudan wa salaman. That fire be cold for Ibrahim alayhi salatu wa salam, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who puts the effect in the causes, but He wants us to adopt these means as well. Right? And this is like, so it seems like contradictory, but we see, look, in the Quran and Hadith, we see the balance of this. Allah tells us in the Quran, Inna Allah huwa ar-razzaqu dhul quwwatil mateen. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the possessor of strength, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the mighty. So Allah provides. Why do we have to do anything? What does Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says? طَلَبُ كَسْبِ الْحَلَالِ فَرِيضًا بَعْدَ الْفَرِيضًا. That seeking halal earnings is a fard. After like the other fara'id of Islam, like the 5 pillars, after that seeking earnings, halal earnings is fard. Allah says I provide, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said you have to seek the earning, right? Like one of my teachers used to say, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. That look, your rizq is in the sky, lekin zameen walo ko dhunne padta, right? But the people on the ground, they have to go and they have to find it, right? Similarly, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, somebody came, the famous hadith. He said that I have so much trust in Allah, I left my camel roaming. Rasulullah said, tie your camel, then put your trust on Allah. 2 people, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hadith is in Abu Dawud Sharif. They came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because they had a conflict. And what was it? One person owed the other person money. And the one who owed money, he paid it back. But the one who was owed the money, the lender, he said, I wasn't paid back. Right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he judged in favor of the lender. Why? Because there's process, right? Because you have to have proof or you have to take an oath. And Rasulullah said it could be that some of you lie or you take a false oath and I rule in your favor, but whatever you take is haram. So khair, anyway, these 2 people, they came to Rasulullah and one of them, the one who probably paid back, right, who was wronged, he was ruled against. So then when Rasulullah made his judgment, this man said, Hasbunallahu, Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Rasulullah called him back. He said that, Alayka bil kais. He said, like, to try like, akhal se kaam, right? Meaning that, use your brain, right? To act smart, then say Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. What this man did, he paid back the debt, but he didn't have any witnesses. He didn't document it. He didn't do anything. So he was taken advantage of, right? So Rasulullah said, don't just say Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Do your due diligence, use your intelligence, cover up all of the bases, cross the T's and dot the I's, and then put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what real trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Okay? So when it comes to asbab, there's 3 levels of this. So this is something to understand, and inshallah I'll mention something that Hazrat Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned about how to adopt tawakkul, how to instill tawakkul in our lives in a very easy way. But there's 3 levels of means of asbab, right? 3 levels, and they have different rulings. The first is those asbab that are yaqini, right? Yaqini meaning 99.9% of the time they result in the desired effect. For example, eating food, right? Drinking water. What does eating food do? It gives you nourishment. It satiates your hunger, right? Drinking water quenches your thirst. Now there's some people, very few, they might have some disease that no matter how much they eat, they can't digest it or it doesn't satiate them. But that's very, very few, right? So to adopt these means is fard, to the extent that if a person does it, they'll be sinful. So let's say that there's a person, they say that I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat. The food is in front of them. And they refuse to eat. What will happen if they die? They'll be considered somebody who considered suicide. They'll get the sin of somebody who committed suicide. To the extent that when it comes to eating, because it's considered a yaqini sabab, certain sabab, that even if pork is the only thing available for a person and a person doesn't eat the pork, they'll be sinful, right? They'll be sinful if they die from it, is what it is. The second thing is dhanni, meaning it's more likely than not that this sabab will have its desired effect. So the first one was fard, to adopt. The second one, dhanni, means it's more likely than not that it will have its effect. It's sunnah to adopt. What's an example of this? Medicine, right? Medicine, when you take medicine, it does not 100%, not 90%. It's maybe 80%, 70%, right? Maybe a little bit less, but it's helped a lot of people. If a person feels, I don't want to, I'm not going to get into any vaccine discussion right now, right? I mean, if a person says, look, I want to take medicine, if you take it, there's sunnah. It's sunnah to do so. Rasulullah would medicate himself. But if a person were to say, I don't feel like it, I don't think it's going to help me, that person is not going to be sinful in neglecting it, right? Though it would be better to seek some type of treatment. But these zanni things, it's sunnah to take it, right? Then there's those things that are wahami, less than 50% chance, right? I heard somebody, log bolte, people tell me that this works. Let me go and get this taweez made, right? Let me go, I heard that such and such person, if he makes some dua for me, and then I press his feet for 10 days, and then I read 10 rakats of namaz standing on one foot, reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad 100 times in each rakat, I'll get what I want, right? It's like, okay, it might work, it might be some people's experience. This is called wahami, right? For these things, if it's something that's not impermissible, like for example ta'weez, if the ta'weez has some dua written in it, a person can wear it. But it's mustahab to avoid these types of things, right? It's mustahab to avoid these types of things, right? That's why all of this effect was on my mind at the beginning, the effect of words, that's why it was. It was because of ta'weez, etc. When a person writes a ta'weez, right? It's not the words, it's the heart of the person who's writing it. Like the same Shaykh Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, somebody came to him one day, and they said to him that, give me a ta'weez. I don't write ta'weez. Ta'weez meaning, what do you call it? Amulet, right? So this person, he said that, give me this ta'weez, give me this ta'weez. And he said, no. He kept bothering him. So he said, bring me a paper. He brought the paper, he wrote down something in the paper, he closed it, he gave it to him. And he said, you keep it, don't open it up. The guy, when he came back several months later, he said, this worked for me, 100%. This is great. You said this is great. So then Shaykh, his students asked him, you said you don't write ta'weez. He said, I don't. All I wrote in there is, Ya Allah, main janta nahi aur ye manta nahi, Ya Allah, iska kaam pura kar. Right? That, oh Allah, I don't know how to do this, but he doesn't believe me, so Ya Allah, whatever he wants, do it. Right? And he wrote it with such conviction, it worked out. I said the other story many times. I'll just say it because you will laugh because it's a wife joke, right? That there was a woman, what happened is, she came to this other Shaykh. She said, Shaykh, my husband is so bad-natured, bad-tempered, always yelling at me, always upset with me. Give me some ta'weez. He said, no, I don't do that. No, please. He said, okay, I'm not going to give you a ta'weez. I'm going to do dum on water for you, right? I'm going to do special water. I'm going to read something, I'm going to blow on it. This is permissible. You can do it. There's no problem in this. So he brought this water. And what he did was he said, and he blew on the water. He said, you take this water home. When your husband comes home on a daily basis, I want you to drink this water. But you can't swallow it. You have to hold it in your mouth until he's done eating, right? After 2 weeks, she came back. She said, Sheikh, this was a miracle water. I don't know what you read on this water. Sheikh, give me more. She had like 5-6 jugs, right?
Just to keep quiet.
That's all it is, right? So these are wahami asbab. If you adopt, to leave them is mustahab. Now we come to the last thing. How do we bring tawakkul in our lives? Very, very easy prescription. Inshallah, if you do it not once, not twice, you have to do it for a long time. I saw something the other day that they say if you do something 22 days in a row, it becomes a habit. Try it for 22 days, or the Tabligh brothers are here, 40 days. Do it for 40 days, inshallah. 40 is a good number. Because in the Quran, 40 sana. Musa alayhi salam had 40 days, right? So do it for 40 days. It's good, inshallah. What you should, anytime you make a plan, whatever the plan is, right? You make a plan, do your due diligence upon that plan. And then right before setting that plan into motion, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And say that, Ya Allah, in your heart, Ya Allah, I adopted these means because you and your Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam have instructed me to do so. And I've done whatever I can, but only you can allow the fruits of this plan to come to fruition, Ya Allah. So Ya Allah, that which is good, allow it to happen for me. And then put the plan into motion, right? Inshallah it'll come, whatever you plan out, inshallah it'll work out. But that every time you're reinforcing in your mind, it's not this plan, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's the one that's putting the effect in the plan. If you do this repeatedly, see how the whole world will change in front of you, right? How your relationship with the world around you will change. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq, give me the tawfiq, give Allah me the tawfiq to adopt yaqeen, tawakkul. Inshallah next week we'll go over the ayat. And the first hadith is quite lengthy, so we might get through just the ayahs, or we might do the ayah and the first hadith. There's 10 hadiths in this chapter. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah.